Hey, good morning and welcome to Dakota Housing Network. My name is Greg Larson. I'm here with my co-host,
Dave Floor.
and our very special guest.
Mike Wilson.
Thanks for coming back, Mike. And we also have Jim Walsh running the boards. How are you, Jim? Hello!
Who the heck's Mike in the corner over there?
Mike over in the corners with Ace Inspections.
Oh,
He's a
okay.
regular guest.
That guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
he's
guy.
been on before.
Comes in and talks about what to do to take care of your homes. And if someone has a question, they can certainly call at 663-1270, and we'll try to answer that question. However, since the phones are not lighting up at this very moment,
Okay.
what do we got as far as interest rates?
Okay. As always, we start out with interest
We
rates. Okay. Freddie Mac survey as of today, 30-year fixed rate mortgages average 3.66%. And that is up from last week when it averaged 3.64. Ooh, big movement.
Big movement.
Big movement, Greg. A year ago, the 30-year fixed averaged 3.87.
So what would that work out on to, say, a average mortgage?
A buck
$1. Yeah.
in payment change. I
A
think.
year or a month?
A month, maybe $1.
Maybe.
Depends upon how big the loan is, I guess,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Okay. 15-year fixed averaged 2.92%, up from last week when it was at 2.89. A year ago, the 15-year was at 3.08. And
We do
should you
have a
get an
phone
arm?
call. We have a phone call.
Okay. Well, should you get an arm?
I
Probably
have to.
not.
Probably not.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
We're trying to figure out. None of us have earphones on here, so give us just a second here.
Let me get Mr. Dave some earphones here.
All right, caller, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I've heard that in the Bismarck area there's trouble with radon. How do I find out if I've got radon in my house?
Radon your house. We're going to let
question.
Radon test.
Mike answer that one.
Sure.
Fire up, Mike.
Well, radon is prevalent in the Bismarck, Mandan, North Dakota area. And there are multiple ways of testing it. There are free packets that can be gotten through the North Dakota Health Department, and that would be open it up, read the instructions, open it up, follow the instructions on where to put them. You're going to put those down in your basement, usually in a bedroom at about bed height. And usually you run those for 48 hours or maybe a little longer. Make sure you put down the precise time of when you've opened and closed that packet and send that in. And then you'll get your results back in the mail or via email. Now, there are professionals like myself that do radon testing, and we do have the actual radon monitors, and we'd be able to get you the results quickly as soon as the test is done. In my monitor tests twice, takes 2 samples per half hour for 48 hours or however long I want to program it for, and I'd be able to get the results to you right away. The EPA threshold is 4.0, and we want to make sure that we're trying to keep that underneath that threshold. And it has been linked to lung cancer, and the results are if you do have high radon in your house, then there are professionals locally that would be able to put in those mitigation systems, ranging anywhere between $1,000 to $1,300-$1,400, and more depending on your basement and what procedures they have to take.
Mike, is it better to do this in the wintertime when your house is more sealed up versus now when you're going to be opening, closing windows and doors all day long?
That's a great question, and that's something I missed. When you do your radon test, you want to have the house closed for 24 hours and then have all the windows and the doors closed, besides normal entry and all that other stuff for that testing time. The winter does trend to have a little higher radon levels, and also if there's a low pressure system that comes through, rainy, kind of dark weather that comes through, that will tend to run a little higher. And one of the benefits of using a computerized monitor is you get that data and you'll be able to see where the weather has affected that information.
Okay. Caller, if you're still there, any follow-up?
Oh, he's gone.
He's gone. Okay. Caller's gone.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Good answer, Mike. Anything else to add on the radon? But
Around small children, it's a good idea if you have kids sleeping in the basement to have that radon checked one way or another,
okay.
and just to be proactive.
Okay. So health department's got free test kits.
They do.
And you can buy them also at like Lowe's or
Lowe's,
Menards, et cetera.
I'm sure has them.
Yeah. Okay.
I charge $75 to do my test.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And the boxes aren't as accurate. They just tell you what an average level is.
Yeah.
If you have a professional with a monitor, they can track the highs and lows, and tie it to with what's happening. But
Yeah.
radon, you should test for it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see where we're at. We're talking interest rates. I don't know what we want to.
Yeah, we're not locking.
We got a couple minutes. Well, let's see. I was going to say ARM. Should you get an adjustable rate mortgage, not another ARM, Greg? But an adjustable rate mortgage. Well, the 15-year average 2.92%. The ARM was 2.88. So there's really not a really compelling reason to get an adjustable rate mortgage these
All
days.
it can do is go over.
Yeah. If you're debating between that and a 30-year, I guess there's about a percentage point, but that's probably not a great idea either to get an ARM at that point, just because rates are so low. Now, going ahead, our friend Barry Abib at MBS Highways suggesting that we float on interest rates right now, but tomorrow there's a big jobs report coming out. We're going to find out how many jobs were created in our country. But Barry says, the job growth trend is certainly lower. Manufacturing jobs continue to be weak. Service sector, professional business services added the most jobs. It's hard to, he just goes on to say, it's hard to know how these reports actually come out because there's so many variables in the way they kind of tinker with how they calculate things and that. But he said what's interesting to look for is whether or not the Fed, when they meet, they're going to be meeting this month, will they use the data that comes out now as a reason to hike interest rates. And he said what's interesting is, he said when jobs were getting created near 250,000, it wasn't enough to raise rates. But now that the Fed is in the mood to hike, 150,000 jobs being created would be enough. So they move the goalposts according to what they're thinking.
Don't they ever?
Yeah. So anyway, Jim, you're kicking us off, and it's Charlie
will
Watts'
be back.
birthday.
Yeah.
Charlie Watts, the drummer for the Rolling Stones. So we're gonna get a dose of the Stones today. All right.
Right now, 63.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
And we are back. Welcome back to Dakota Housing Network. Easy for me to say.
Can't you hear me knocking?
I did.
That's what.
Before we move on, we got to give a shout out here, guys. The National Association of Realtors has 1.2 million members.
That's a lot of you guys.
It's a lot of us guys. And every year they select a few of 30 under 30. These are 30 people who are under the age of 30 who are having an impact in real estate.
Okay.
And, they're all over the place.
Something tells me we have a North Dakotan.
We do. From Minot, North Dakota, Sherry Ann Horn, one of the owners of Brokers 12. She's the teamrockstars.com is her website. Sherry has been in the business. She's 28. She hasn't been in the business that long, but she's been very effective. Her sales volume for her team last year was $32.3 million.
Ooh.
That's a lot of money, and that's for 179 transaction sales. Here's what they say. She grew up in a dairy farm in rural North Dakota where her mother stressed the importance of education. She graduated from high school with honors and a 2-year-old son and won a scholarship to Morehead State University in Kentucky. With her son in tow, she worked her way through college, turning gratefully to government assistance to get through. I'm a gold digger, she says, always striving to better myself while helping others. When Anhorn graduated in 2009, jobs were slim in her field of graphic design, so she took a position as a marketing assistant for a real estate agent.
Ah.
They worked so well together that Anhorn got her license. Then they created a 2-person sales team. In short order, she obtained her broker's license and became an owner within her own company. Today, she is also Vice President Secretary of the Minot Board of Realtors. So from 2009 to 2016, Sherry has done big things. She's 28 years old, and she's one of NAR's 30 under 30. Congratulations, Sherry.
Yeah. You know the person she started working for? I bet you it was Delray Zimmerman, who I think also was a 30 under 30.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Could be.
I think so. Well, congratulations, Sherry.
Yep.
I mean, look, there's a success story of someone who, maybe a rough start to her adult life, used assistance the way it was meant to be to help somebody get started, and look what happens.
Yep, and I do know Sherry, and I know she gives back a lot. She's very involved in her community, too.
So, great job, Sherry.
Way to go.
All right.
So that's good news. Also, today, we just need to take note of this because it's just me. In 1935, Babe Ruth said goodbye to baseball.
No.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Say it isn't so.
It is.
Oh, no, that's
He
somebody
played
else.
22 seasons. He won 10 World Series championships, and he had a career of 714 home runs.
That was a lot of them.
Not bad for the Bambino.
Yeah. And who he played with, like Lou Gehrig.
Yep.
Did he ever play with Joe DiMaggio?
Yes.
Joe would have been like starting when Babe was ending,
leaving. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He started out in a minor league with the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah. He was a pitcher.
Yep. And then he got up. He was a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. And after 7 years, they traded him.
Yeah.
Oops.
Ooh, the curse of the Bambino.
Curse the Bambino.
They finally broke that curse, though.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So back to something real estate.
Yeah. Okay.
How's the market? I just had someone ask me today if I thought the market would recover in 2016 in Bismarck-Mandan area.
It was on life support, or
I guess I asked him recover from what, and he said, "Well, the big downturn."
Okay. Mike,
And-
did you have a downturn in inspections?
I have not had a downturn in inspections.
Okay.
I've been
All right. Okay.
pleasantly
Well,
busy.
let's explore further then.
Well, this is just 12 months from June 1st, 2014 to May 31st, 2015, compared to this year, 2016.
Okay.
All right. The numbers of units sold, this is single family now we're talking, is up 1%, 1359 to 1376. The average list price is up 2%.
Okay.
The average sales price is up 2%. The average days on the market is up 1%. And the sales price is at 98% of list price. So, folks,
All healthy.
pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Stable. We don't like runaway appreciation, inflation in housing. It's not healthy because we've run out of low end and it makes housing less affordable, as we've talked about before. So that's single families, total residential, condos, duplexes, twin homes. The numbers of units sold is off 2%. The average list price is up 2%. The sold price is up 2%. Days on the market is up 1%. And the sales list price is static at the same, 98%.
Okay.
What this is telling us, folks, is people are buying homes. Your home is a good sell. They don't stay on the market long. 78 days in the market is a good time, is a good average. Where we're seeing still some stagnation is in high-end homes. There's a lot of those for sale right now.
What's the price point for that?
$500,000 and up.
Okay. All right.
But they're selling. They're selling better than they did at this time last year.
Okay.
So if you want to just compare May of 2015 to May of 2016, numbers of units sold, let's just go to the total real estate. Numbers of units sold is the same. However, that's because we're off 80% in duplexes.
No, not many duplexes.
No, I think that has to do with people have the idea that there's a whole lot of rental property available, and it's not a good time to invest in rental property and duplexes.
Yeah.
The last time I talked to the North Dakota Association of Apartment Owners, they've got a good market. The new big units that are being built have a vacancy rate of 10%, which is a little high, not bad. But the duplexes, fourplexes and under, 4 units and unders, their vacancy rate is at about 3%, which is healthy.
Because they're the most affordable.
Right.
And
Yep.
yeah, okay.
So we are month to month, same with the houses, units sold. We're up 5% in list price, up 4% in sold price. Days in the market is up significantly higher. Again, that's because of the duplex stuff that throws that up. But the sales list price is the same. If we look just at single family, the days in the market is also going up, but not significantly. So
Okay.
We got a good market.
This is much more normal.
yeah, we have a
Market.
normal market.
And if you compare, when somebody thinks there was a downturn, if you're comparing it to, say, 2013 or 14, there was a downturn.
Yep.
But that's really not what happened. It's a reversion to the
Yeah.
mean, as they say, right?
Yeah, and we'll be talking with Dot Frank next week.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out about new housing starts nationwide. They're off.
No.
Don't know about Bismarck Mandan. We'll find out.
No.
But so folks, the local market is good. The markets in the western part of the state, they're off slightly. It's not the crisis that folks think it is. Minot is coming along quite well. So, and the east side of the state is gangbusters. Grand Forks is, for some reason, just on the fly.
Yeah, we've noticed the big uptake at our place. We're buying more mortgages from the Grand Forks area this year.
Yeah.
On Fargo market, I was just out there, doing great. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
we've got a stable, growing market. It's growing at a rate that's acceptable and absorbable. So
I think in the western part of the state, the big thing is motels and apartments.
yeah,
Or the vacancies are probably high in some of the apartments.
Right.
And then that's where the real issue is. So, all right.
Okay.
Let's talk about our guest.
Oh,
Let's
we
get
have a
him
guest?
talking.
Who is that, Mike?
That's Mike.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah, Mike is kind of a regular. We have him on. We're going to try to have him on quarterly to talk about what you need to know about your house and what to take care of. So, Mike, we've talked about
Mike's
last
an
time we're
ACE
here.
inspector. Did you know that?
He's an ace.
From ACE Inspections.
Yeah,
Who,
I own
by
Ace.
the way, makes great soap.
That's right. We've
Really
talked about
does.
that before. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So last time, Mike, we talked about cleaning stuff around your house, cleaning the gutters, that kind of stuff, your dryers, your fridge, that kind of stuff. Now we want to talk about preventative maintenance.
Yeah, I think it's really important to make sure you're walking around your house, especially with properties that have masonite and wood siding. We want to make sure that all of those surfaces are painted, especially with masonite siding. We want to make sure that the bottom edges of that material is always sealed with paint. Otherwise, water is going to hang on that and absorb back into the masonite siding. And I'm sure you've seen, if not at your house specifically, but in other properties, if you see where the bottom of the siding is starting to billow out, that's a symptom that that seal is broken, and it should be sealed with paint just to make sure that it doesn't get any worse. When you're doing that, ladder safety is important, so make sure that you are blocking the bottom of the feet with screwdrivers or against your vehicle. And we'll talk more later.
All right.
All right. Going out on
Brown sugar.
Brown Sugar.
Brown Sugar.
All right, Jim. We'll be back on the Dakota Housing Network with Mike Wilson.
Right now, 63.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. SuperTalk1270.com.
Welcome back to Dakota Housing Network. I'm here with Dave Fleur.
That's me.
That's him, Mike Wilson with Ace Inspections. And Mike, we're talking about preventative maintenance around the house. And the last thing we talked about was ladder safety. And as one who has taken a dive off of a ladder, let me tell you, it's good to tie those things and block them up
They are
because it leaves a mark.
a lasting mark. I got one too. So, also one of the things to do is to clean out your gutters, make sure that those are clear and draining well. Last thing you want is a big storm and look out your window and see all the water coming over the side of your gutter instead of where it should be going. That water can move down into your foundation, underneath your floor, and has actually lifted up the floor underneath your house, causing that concrete to move and such. Plus it taxes your sump wells and stuff like that.
No.
Make sure that your sump well pumps are doing really well. Sump well pump life usually is between 3 and 4 years, depending on how much they're being used. If you have pumps that are older than that, wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and change those out for 2 reasons. One, you're starting fresh, and 2, it gives you practice in getting that done. I also suggest high water alarms. The high water alarm that I like is called the Watchdog. It can be found at Ace Hardware or Lowe's, and there's a sensor on the bottom that you pull out. There's a 6-foot lead, and that would hang just above where the pump would normally kick in. That way, if it does fail, at least you know. And then at that point, you can go ahead and bail it out using a gallon bucket into a 5-gallon bucket, and then disposing that as you choose. And even if you don't have a sump pump, having that water detector there will definitely help monitor that. We want to make sure that the water doesn't get up to about half the height of the sump well, because any higher than that, then you're going to start causing damage to the floor because of the water content close to the bottom of your concrete floor
Okay.
can cause a little bit of settling and movement. And if like a non-load bearing wall is built on a concrete floor and that rises, then you'll start to get cracks throughout your house. That's one of the things that we look for as an home inspector.
Yeah. Hey, would this watchdog alarm, would that work like around a water heater for, so if the water heater leaks?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, in houses, there are 3 or 4 different places where I suggest to use that.
Yeah.
For example, an older water heater, spill a glass of water next to the water heater or close to the bottom, and see which way that water is going to move. If that starts to, and then when that dries off, put that in the pathway. That way, if it does start to leak, it connects those pins.
Okay.
Another thing is underneath a fridge that has a water service to it. Pull out the fridge, go ahead and put that sensor, tape it down to the floor behind the fridge. That way, if it does start to leak, then again, at least you know.
Okay, yeah, that's a
So-
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we talk a lot about houses. There are a lot of folks around here that have manufactured housing. Anything special they should be looking at?
You know, one of the things to monitor is how the piers are sitting in your underneath your property. Go ahead and pull up the skirting, take a look underneath there, and find if the piers themselves have grading that is lower around them. The piers are the blocks that are holding up your house, of course. And if you have the opportunity to go ahead and either trench that dirt away so that the water will move out, or to go ahead and add additional dirt around there to keep the water from settling there, that will keep your house from settling and moving. And then also check your heat tape. Heat tape, again, like sump pumps, only have a life expectancy of about 3 to 4 years. So it's a really good idea while it's warm and you don't need it to go ahead and either check and replace those heat tapes. Real easy way of doing that is to go ahead and use those. You know, Menards, Lowe's, Ace, they all have them. It's a sliced insulation pipe that
That spongy stuff.
right, the
Yeah.
spongy stuff, and then you can go ahead and put in your new heat tape, and then use that spongy stuff to insulate around that pipe, and then use zip ties to actually secure it. So then, in another 3 or 4 years, when you want to be proactive, you'll pop off the zip ties, go ahead and take out the old tape, put in the new one, put in new zip ties, and it's a much easier replacement and upkeep of your property.
Okay.
So
good.
while you're underneath there, it's always a good idea to run the water in all of your faucets and tubs and all that other stuff, and just see whether or not there's water that's leaking underneath there. Recently, I have come across a few properties where, like a tub, the drain itself had moved and cracked, and then when you put water to it, it starts to leak underneath your property, which can cause damage to that particle board flooring or whichever flooring you have, and then moisture issues. So, good thing to do.
Okay. Also, while we're there, the mobile home belly insulation, that's pretty critical to keeping your pipes from freezing and stuff and keeping a manufactured house warm. What kind of things should you be looking for that? I know years ago there was a problem in one of the local developments. Some feral cats got in under these homes and ripped that cardboard and insulation out and would get up in there, because it was warm. But all of a sudden, these pipes are freezing in these houses and all kinds of stuff. So, what kind of things should they be looking for, and how do you fix it?
I think your first line of defense is the skirting around your property. So make sure that that's all intact, it's screwed into place, and that you have decent ventilation. The ventilation, usually in the winter, they do have thermal louvers that will close when it gets cold and then open when it warms. Now, the underbelly underneath, especially if you've gotten water damage or something and that membrane has gotten waterlogged and dropped, it's a good idea to go ahead and repair that. There are various ways of doing that, anywhere between using kind of a stapling system to hold kind of a thin board to lock that into place, up to, as far as duct tape or whatever. But we want to make sure that using like a plastic membrane to try to keep the air from coming through, fortifying it with insulation, and keeping that thermal barrier in place is the best way to take care of that.
Okay. We're talking also we talk about cleaning your gutters so that the water runs down where it's supposed to do. What do you do then when it hits the ground?
Well, we want to make sure that the downspouts are extended out, and in this summer, I'm sure we're going to have a few good rainstorms. So after the rain, or while it's coming down pretty hard, just take a walk around your property and see whether or not there's areas that are pooling next to your property. If you have areas that the water is setting or stagnant right next to your house, then it doesn't have anywhere to go. It's going to drop down along your foundation. Again, it's going to create that same issue. Make sure that water is moving aggressively across your property.
Downspouts 4 to 6 feet extended out from your house. Yeah. Okay.
And make sure that the landscaping plastic, that landscaping trim, that has a tendency to hold water behind it. And one of the proactive things to do is to drill holes through that trim, and then also put small trenches through your grass, so then the water would be able to actually drain from behind that border. Otherwise, it's going to hold water against your property and cause settling issues.
It's something I see people have got next to their house. They'll have the brick pavers and stuff, and have like a raised bed. So that would hold. That's going to hold water. So really, you need to create some spots where the water can drain out from that, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Especially with those brick settings, not a bad idea to take out one of those bricks. You can use a hammer and chisel to break that brick, put that back into place so it actually creates a channel, and then again create a trench through your land or your lawn to be able to have that move through.
So you got to remember that when you're redoing stuff, is create some place for that water to get out from behind whatever you're putting in.
Right, and in addition to that, in those areas that have the rock around your property, go ahead and pull back a couple of samples of where that rock is, and see where the water is sitting, or if it's able to move through. There have been times when the rock has compacted the dirt, and then it just holds it right next to it.
Yeah, and I understand you're also a big fan of the plastic covers for window wells, right?
I really am. We want to
I
make
got
sure.
him. I got him.
Hey.
I got him.
Dave wins.
Keeps the snow out of your window wells, so it's easier to escape in case of an emergency, which we'll be
Yep.
talking about soon.
Yep.
And helps keep water from your window.
Good. Well, we're going away. We'll be back for the final segment. If you have any questions, 663-1270.
Start me up, man.
Okay.
Right now, 70.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Dakota Housing Network. We're hearing here the Stones because it's somebody's birthday, the drummer, right?
Charlie Watts.
Charlie Watts.
How old was Charlie Watts? Jim, do you know?
75.
75. He's also
Wow.
out there playing with Mick and Keith and the rest of the dead guys.
I'm afraid when I hit 75, I won't be able to hold a drumstick.
Again, now Charlie Watts, I think, was kind of tame. You know, so that he is still alive isn't surprising. It's just, but Keith Richards, I have no idea how that guy is still out there. But anyway, we got
Yes.
Mike Wilson.
We do. Hi,
So
Mike.
we're going to talk about ACE inspections. We're going to talk about preparedness
Yeah.
in event of an emergency.
One of the
right now.
things that I like as a realtor when we have a home inspector, there's a couple of them that do it. Mike is obsessive about it almost, is when you go through a house, you take pictures of all the model numbers of the stoves and all that stuff, so there's a record. But you always take time telling people about their fire alarms or smoke detectors and that kind of stuff. And I know that's a big deal to you about home safety, so what do you want us to know?
You know, it's interesting how many home inspections that I do where the smoke detectors don't even work or are missing. And that's going to be your first line of defense in the evening or night when you're sleeping. If there's ever a fire or short in the house or whatever, you need to know. So smoke detectors, life expectancy is 8 to 10 years. I like 8 years. They just become less sensitive after that time. Carbon monoxide detectors are the same way. We want to replace those out. Carbon monoxide detectors should be placed near the sleeping areas, close to the ceiling, not on the ceiling, but down about a foot. That way you get more of the carbon monoxide concentration. Carbon monoxide is lighter than air, but not as light as hot air, so that's why we put it at that level there. And carbon monoxide really is a silent issue. What happens is that carbon monoxide attaches to your blood so hard that your blood cannot carry any more oxygen. So the only way of getting rid of that carbon monoxide level in your body is to wait for that 30 days for your body to recycle your blood cell, and then once that's renewed, then it start again.
Okay, sources of carbon monoxide are?
Water heater, that's not vented properly, so furnace.
Okay.
Want to make sure that there isn't a cracked heat exchanger or anything in your furnace. And then any like a gas stove or like a fireplace or whatever, that where you don't open up the vent.
So if your furnace, water heater and stuff is in the basement of your home, is that the first place you should be putting a carbon monoxide detector?
See, that's a great question. When you have like a boiler system, when you're running hot water heat, then your first line of defense is actually in the utility room. And of course, you want to have it by your sleeping areas. But in a forced air system with a cracked heat exchanger, it actually comes up through your heating vents.
Ah, very
And
good.
that's why we want to keep it next to your sleeping areas and such.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, interesting. And then I also want to talk about, fire extinguishers. Always a good idea to have a couple of those in hand. And it's actually kind of fun. I have taken a fire extinguisher training, and you go ahead and pull the pin, pull the handles together, and it's just like taking a garden hose and spraying off a clump of dirt or mud that's on your driveway. You just start it next to you and you rock back and forth, kind of cleaning that dirt off of your driveway. It's the same concept as fighting a fire. Go ahead and shoot the base of the fire and work your way into it and solve the issue.
Where should you have fire extinguishers in your house? Where do you suggest?
We don't want them directly in the kitchen, because if the kitchen's on fire, we want to be able to get it a little bit further back. So a closet next to a door, where all the kids and all that stuff are out first. That's most important. And then go ahead and grab your fire extinguisher and go ahead and take it. Now, if the fire is medium or small sized, like in the kitchen, then yes. If it's a room, this little fire extinguisher is going to do much for you. Right. But, it is handy if you have like a grease fire on the stove. You can go ahead and catch that.
Yeah.
So pretty easy.
Okay.
We're talking about fire safety. When houses that have fuse boxes, I come across this so many times where, hey, the fuse burns out, I'm just going to go ahead and put in a larger fuse. I've inspected houses where there has been charred basements because they have done that. They put in a 20 amp fuse or a 30 amp fuse on a wire that's only rated for 15 amps. And that wire will get hot enough to actually ignite. And that really is, dangerous, especially if you have a couple crock pots going on in the kitchen or something. That is one of those things that can cause that issue. So let's talk about that. It's summer now. So now is the perfect time to go ahead and do that emergency preparedness. So let's talk about fire safety. Go ahead and get your fire drill down. You should practice it a couple times a year with your kids so they kind of know what to do, where to go. All the kids, and not a bad idea for the adults too, to have a grab bag or an emergency bag underneath your bed with a couple change of clothes, toothbrush, any medication that you need, important papers, cash, credit card, whatever that you need. Heaven forbid your house goes down, then these are the immediate things that you need, and then also have your contacts. So if right now everybody has their contacts in their phone, so it would be a good idea to have contacts written down, and also your insurance policy for your house and all that other stuff. So kind of keep that in mind. Now we are starting to get into tornado season, so would be a good idea to have a tornado drill. So you know what to do. Of course, in the basement of a house would be the best place to go. At an area that does not have any windows, underneath the stairs, if that's the case, that's usually a pretty strong reinforced area, or wherever. Have flashlights, a battery-powered radio in that area. Activities for the kids, because you might be there for a while. Some food and snacks, and that is at least a prepared area to go. Heaven forbid that ever happens. And give that a couple drills to make sure that the kids know what they're doing and such. So it's really important to do that.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning, tornado watch, of course, everybody knows is, there has been or there is weather that can support a tornado. Tornado warning is that there's actual one present. And then, of course, when sirens go off, that's time to move. So,
Duck and cover.
Duck and cover.
Duck and
So,
cover.
okay, now say something happens to your house, fire, tornado, whatever it might be. We were talking about this in the break. For insurance purposes, you need an inventory of your stuff.
that's correct.
Would be the best thing, because the insurance company might not cover you for your stuff if you don't have the inventory.
It's important to make sure that you have, when they ask you for your replacement costs and replacement products, what you actually have, because they may put you in tasks for that. So it's a good idea for your valuables to take pictures or video of your television, your jewelry, your electronics and stuff. Take pictures of your closets, and of special shoes or expensive things that you have, just so you can have that, this is the replacement of what we had and such. Keep those in a couple different areas. Now, the insurance company may have an app that is used for this. Talk to your insurance agent and see what options he has for you.
Yeah.
And keep that information either in an internet server or wherever.
Yeah, well, and a good thing. I mean, there's online backup services you can use that
That's
are
true.
secure as anything else in this day and age. And so you could take the video, you could take the pictures, you back that up online, make sure you have your password for that account,
Right.
and you've got all that accessible from anywhere.
And then safety deposit boxes for your life insurance policies and all that other stuff, for fire boxes in your house. Best to talk about this now than to have to try to pull the 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we just have about a minute left, so as we go, Mike, thank you so much. It's always good information. We'll have you back to talk about some more stuff because it seems like we always run out of time with you.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you for being here. One last shout out to Sherry Ann Horn, Brokers 12, Inc., Minot, North Dakota, one of the National Association of Realtors, 30 people under 30 who are making a difference in real estate.
Yay, Sherry.
Yay, Sherry. Brokers 12, Minot.
And Mike Wilson, Ace Inspections, if you want to talk to Mike in person. and
Throw us a
live.
phone number.
471-5344 and aceinspectionsnd.com.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you,
Right.
Jim.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on Dakota Housing Network.